Hello there. It's another Monday, and this is Leadership Monday. And here you have your serving of one or two leadership nuggets to help you do leadership right this week. And this comes from Emet Leadership Academy, where leaders are nurtured based on truth. So, a word of truth and leadership on leadership comes to you again this morning. And as you must have seen on the screen, I'm saying no more fish. No more fish. I'm speaking very briefly on the subject this morning. Stop giving them fish. And I'm speaking to you as a leader. Stop giving them fish. And because you can't talk leadership without talking about the following, I'm also saying to followers, stop looking for fish from your leaders. Stop looking for your leaders to give you fish. All right? Stop looking to your leaders to give you fish. That's not the very essence or the ultimate, all right, of leadership. Leaders are a privilege, especially good leaders, and they're given for a purpose. And the purpose is only partly fish. It's substantively far more than fish. And that's why I love when Jesus was putting together his team, and he emphasized, he said, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. Now, the instructive thing about that statement is that in speaking to people who were meant to be his followers, they were already fishermen. And he was saying, no, come out of that, state. Come out, stop being fishermen. There's a higher level to aspire to, a higher level of value. All right. You can make greater contributions than just, harvesting fish and selling it. Okay. Life is not just about fish. Life is not just about eating. And therefore, life is not just about, whether you are hungry or you are not hungry. Okay. And indeed, if you must be hungry not for fish, but for something that is worth more than fish. For something that is worth more than fish. But so you see, follow me and I will make you fishers of men. Now, there is a danger, therefore, that we can very quickly spot from this example of a great leader, of the greatest leader who has ever lived, and that's Jesus. He said, follow me and I will make you fishers of men. I'm not going to give you fish. I've already shown you that I can do that. I mean, that's the simplest thing to do. But that won't be of great value to you. Let me give you what is of far greater value. All right? It says, instead of being fishermen, I will make you fishers of men. Instead of giving you fish, I will give you value. I will turn you into people, all right, who can add far greater value. In fact, you'll be able to add such value that eating fish will be the easiest, of your worries, the least of your worries. You would not only be able to provide fish for yourself at will, but you would be able to do so for others and much more, to turn others also into fishers of men. You'll be able to bring out the best, in people. That's what leaders ought to do. That's what true leadership is about. It's not about the results. It's not about just making profit. It's not about, just providing for people, because that itself is dangerous. It's dangerous when a leader places undue emphasis on the final results instead of the results that they get, all right, with the transformation of the person. What impact? Leaders are called to make an impact first on the person, all right? And that as a means to getting the results they desire. Your result has to be first reflected in the person. The leader's focus is first in the personality, transforming the personality of the people, building them up in character. Because when you do that, then the other results will be guaranteed. When you make fishers of men, it will be easy for them to get fish. They won't be hungry. They won't complain that we are hungry. The problem with emphasizing the provision of fish is that you make them dependent. They will forever be like babies, always looking for you to feed them with fish, never growing up to take responsibility for being able to do that for themselves and for others, and indeed rising above that to give greater value. To give greater value. Now, part of the problem, of course, in Nigeria now, part of the, the hunger protests and all of that, and people say we're hungry. Well, what do you say about that? But it simply reminds me of this concept of giving fish instead of making fishers of men. And this is where the bad leadership that we have accumulated over many years is taking a toll on us. Because you have a group of people, a majority of people who are hung up on fish, on provision of fish, when they should be thinking about how to produce fish for themselves, for others, and how to add value greater than fish. How to add value greater than fish. You have now a set of following who are so dependent on leadership that when the fish is not coming, they are helpless, they are hopeless. And what they do, because they don't know what else to do, what more to do, how to add greater value, they are hung up on the leader to continue to provide fish. And so that's the problem of leadership. When you are focused on giving fish, you create a problem that will linger into the future. You create dependency of the following on you. The followers are not supposed to be built into people who depend on you forever. No, you are supposed to build them into bona fide leaders like yourself, all right, who can go ahead and who will go ahead after tutelage under you to also replicate what you have done for them in the lives of others. You have to build them to be far above dependency on fish, as it were, so that they also become fishers of men. That is, they can add value. You have built capacity into them to get more valuable things done. This was part of the reason why, Jesus was saying to the devil, when the devil was tempting him with bread, he said, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. Bread alone has limited value that it can offer. And God, being a super leader, knows that it cannot, if people are to attain the, potential, all right, the stature that he wants them to, where they be really relevant in the scheme of things on the earth, they can't be dependent on bread, on fish. They have to grow beyond that. And what will make them grow beyond that, are relevant teachings, relevant exposure to what is of greater value. And that's why he called us, all right, to bring forth fruit. Meaning, we need to build character. Leaders must build character. If you focus on character, even if there will be protests, all right, they will be protests that are done responsibly, not the ones where you go ahead destroying, stuff that have been put in place for your benefit. It makes no sense. It makes no sense for you to destroy infrastructure. In fact, for you to also destroy the property, the businesses of people who have done nothing, who are trying to, add value to the system. The same contributions that those people are making that are supposed to help, the overall well-being of the society, now you are destroying them. But why are all this taking place? Because you have people who have become so dependent on fish, because that's how the leaders, have dealt with them. The leaders of many years have taught them that to be reliant on them for fish. And if a leader teaches the people, all right, to depend on himself or on leaders for fish, they will be perpetually dependent. There will be a problem to other leaders. There will be a problem themselves in years to come, because they were never taught to do anything other than to depend on leadership for fish. So what happens when they become the leaders in the society? When the leaders who ought to have taught them the right thing have gone, what becomes of the society? The society will be driven by leaders who only know how to collect fish, all right, from other leaders. And then at that point, they will be stranded. And the people who will be looking up to them will be looking up to them for fish. And now they have nobody else to look up to for fish. And what a society that will be. Chaos will be the order of the day. Backwardness, regression will be the order of the day. That's the problem. That's the real, irony of bad leadership. Leadership that continues to place emphasis on fish. Leadership that continues to give handouts. Leadership that makes its following totally dependent on them for fish. Good leaders, true leaders, yes, they provide fish, but they don't emphasize fish. Man shall not live by fish alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of the leader. Leaders are supposed to add value, to transform the people, to bring out the best in them, to make them people who are contributors, concrete contributors to the society, not those who are dependent on leadership or the system for perpetually for fish. So our approach to leadership has to change. Our approach to leadership has to be people focused, not for the purpose of giving them fish perpetually or encouraging them to depend on leadership for fish, but to train them to become fishers of men. That way they collaborate and cooperate with leadership more effectively, more purposefully, in a way that adds, to society, that uplifts and upgrades the quality of society and the life that its people live. We must depart from this idea of handing out fish. We have to stop. People have to grow beyond that. Leadership approach has to change. To make your people dependent on you for fish is to breed a people or a group that will be irresponsible, who tomorrow will be unable to take responsibility for building some other people. Stop giving them fish. Stop giving handouts. Stop emphasizing, all right, leadership is more than that. Leadership must be people focused. Leadership must be focused on building capacity. Leadership must be focused on affecting the people for good. That does not come by giving them fish. It comes by emphasizing, teaching them how to fish, not handing out fish. When you teach somebody how to fish, he's not going to come back tomorrow and say, we are hungry. Because in the cycle of things, the economists will say there is what you call boom and bust. There is time that everything will be fine. There is a time that everything will go wrong, not because of anything, because that's how systems operate. So you build people who, when things go wrong, they can't hold their own. They can't survive. They can't adjust. They can't do, the needful. What is that? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Leaders themselves are supposed to be resilient. So how come you are not teaching your people also resilience? How come? You must teach your people resilience. And part of that is letting them know that things can become difficult in certain seasons. We're especially in a difficult season. In Nigeria, we're especially in a difficult season. Years of mismanagement, a lot of indices have gone haywire. And in order to turn things around, let no man fool anyone. It's not a piece of cake. It's not a 1-year thing. It's not even 2 years. 4 years itself, you are still trying to put, certain critical things in place that can really drive, the kind of recovery that we need. Many years of mismanagement, of bad leadership, regime after regime, have brought us to where we are. There is no fiat, to control exchange rate. Let nobody fool anyone. The more you do that, the more you postpone the evil days. There is no fiat, all right, to bring the price of fuel back to a particular figure. You don't even have the resources, for God's sake. We don't have the resources. You want to run out and become bankrupt before you know that things need to happen. No. But more importantly, the following: what have previous leadership made of them? It reminds me of today when many people complain about Gen Z and they say different things. This is what they are. This is what they are. Repeatedly, in my classes, I find executives complain about these so-called Gen Zs. And by the time they are done, you know what I say to them? I say, well, the Gen Zs didn't drop from the sky. Who produced them? You are the ones that produced them. What you see of Gen Zs today is the product of yesteryears of leadership, bad parenting. That's what you see. If you are complaining about the younger ones today, you are reaping the fruit of what you sowed previously. And that has to stop. The changes that we need to make are more character-based changes. When you have done that, it is easier, to deal with the difficulty that comes with making changes, all right, to your economic indices. And until you do that, quite frankly, I'm not sure if there is hope. That is, we're looking at the wrong things. No superficial attempt to address the issues that we have right now will suffice. No superficial attempt. You need the right leadership, or leadership to focus on the right things. Too many things have gone out of course. Too many things have gone out of course. And it's because of what we failed to do previously. But now, we need to start approaching leadership the way that it ought to be. We need to start focusing on the people, transforming the people to focus on what value, on the greater value to add to themselves so that they will be more relevant to society. Some people now are talking of, instead of end bad governance protests, they are talking of end bad citizenship protests. How did bad citizenship come about? It came about from bad leadership. People don't just become great. They don't just become good. They just don't act good. All right? They are not wired to act good. They are wired, they come, as it were, fairly empty. In fact, having a tendency to be negative in behavior. All right? And they need the input of leadership to be able to forge, build, develop the right behavior in them so that they can be very useful to society. That's what leaders need to focus on. Those are the things that will get any community running as they should, where you have people who are responsible, all right, for their own salvation, as it were. And part of that, a big part of that, is also responsible for adding value to society. So when we go out and we're talking about leadership and all of that, we should be asking ourselves, what value are we adding ourselves? What value are you adding as a follower, as a citizen? What value are you adding? But that's a tough question for people who have been taught to depend on leaders for fish. That's a tough question for them to ask themselves. But these are the things that we need to start dealing with. And you as a leader, in whatever sphere you are operating, your focus should be on building the capacity of your people to provide fish for themselves, for others, but much more, to add greater value, to teach others how to fish. Don't be tempted by the need to meet those targets, by the need to live up to a certain level of performance. You can still achieve them, but focus first on building your people, building capacity in your people, building the character of your people. That's the first thing. Don't overlook it. Stop using people to achieve those targets. In the process, they depend on you. They can't do things for themselves. Yet, you are going to outgrow that your leadership position. And these are the people that will step in. What do you expect them to do when they sit on your seat? They won't know anything other than to continue to depend on senior people, leaders, for help, to be fed fish, as it were. That's my word for today. I hope that, that's been helpful. And either as a follower or a leader, you have picked up something from today's edition, and you want to join me on Thursday. I'll be speaking on something else, still on the subject of leadership. Now everyone should know that leadership is very crucial, and you need to be trained to be a good leader. You need to be trained to be a good leader. All right. All too often, people find themselves in leadership positions and they can't live up to it. And then a lot of followers complain about leaders not having the slightest idea how challenging that role is. They don't even know how to distinguish a good leader from a bad leader. I think for me, it's part of the problems of democracy that the people can't even appreciate. They can't identify, a credible leader. And I've seen some things that people say, and I shake my head. But that's what it is today. I hope that today's session has been beneficial to you, and you will start focusing on the people who are following you instead of focusing on provision of fish for them. Don't make them perpetually dependent on you for fish. Set them free by building their capacity to do so for themselves and also for others. Jesus said, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men," not fishermen. Fishers of men are more valuable, far more valuable than fishermen. In any case, these guys were already fishermen, but that's not the where to stay. All right. If a leader comes into your life, it should be to add value, to upgrade the quality of your life. It's not to provide more of the fish that you have been used to eating. Okay. If you know, you know. God bless you, and enjoy a wonderful week, a most productive week, and be committed to doing leadership right. Be committed to doing leadership right. God bless you. See you on Thursday. Bye-bye.